One of the joys of being a basketball fan is keeping up with the trends in the industry. And with that said, we will be discussing the biggest NBA draft busts of all time in this video. There's always a team or two that would miss out completely on the boat as the NBA draft rolls out. This happens and everyone is aware of that fact. Every fan's biggest fear with a high draft pick is that the club may eventually create a great player and end up losing out entirely on years to come. Before we continue, please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're joining us for the first time. Click on the bell to turn on notifications and be ready for all of our upcoming and trendy videos. Without further ado, let's dive into the biggest draft busts of all time in the NBA. Here we go. Number 10. Joe Barry Carroll of the Golden State Warriors in 1980. Joe Barry Carroll was a one-time All-Star and would have had a good career in the NBA. Nevertheless, he's on this list. Robert Parrish was the number 3 pick of the draft, and that was traded by the Warriors to move up 2 spots to get Carroll. Joe Barry Carroll had a nice NBA career, and for the 3rd pick, that was later Kevin McHale. This most certainly deserves a draft bust status since 2 Hall of Famers were traded to get an overall pick for the first time. Joe was nicknamed Joe Barely Cares during his time at the Bay. He was known to reject interviews and was seen playing with a nonchalant chip on his shoulder. His team never won a single time through his entire 6 seasons he was with them, but the Celtics took home some pretty good hardware. Number 9. Michael Olowokandi of the LA Clippers, 1998. Michael Olowokandi of the LA Clippers was another basketball player with a wasted opportunity. He was at least 7 feet tall from the University of Pacific. However, he never played organized basketball until he was 18. With over 10 apathetic seasons with the Celtics, Clippers, and Timberwolves, he only was able to average 8.3 points a game. He was able to crack 45% shooting for a season only one time in his career. In this period of the draft, the Clippers, learned their lesson the hard way. It was a lesson leaning on the publicity and potentials of overlooking players like Dirk Nowitzki, Vince Carter, and Paul Pierce. Olowokandi did have the nickname the Candyman during this draft. Later in his career, nonetheless, he did become a great shot blocker. However, it was never packaged with a single offensive breakout season. Number 8. Kwame Brown, Washington Wizards, 2001. Kwame Brown was the first overall pick in the 2001 NBA draft. Brown was selected straight out of high school due to his natural athleticism and was expected to move up the ladder of superstars in basketball very quickly. However, the 7-footer was a major disaster, even though he would last over 12 years in the league. Although the 2001 draft was a horrible one at the time, however, as the number 1 pick, Brown had a lot of expectations on him. He was Michael Jordan's first draft pick and simply failed miserably in palming the basketball. His career was killed by a lack of talent in the field and super immaturity on the side. His career was defined with a lot of failure and weaknesses and an overall average of just 6.6 points a game in his entire career. He later had a pretty laughable scenario when he turned down a $30 million contract for free agency. That offer came despite his failures and mediocrity in his career. He most certainly believed he deserved more, not knowing his career was going for a hard dive. Number 7. Jay Williams of the Chicago Bulls, 2002. Jay Williams was known as the best player in the country after his amazing career at Duke. Williams, along with Yao Ming, who would go to the Houston Rockets, were the gems in the draft back in 2002. He was a can't-miss prospect with a lot of achievement when he was drafted by the Bulls. Chicago gave him a solid training camp season, and the Bulls would eventually make him the 2nd overall pick of the draft. Williams' career, however, came to a screeching halt when he had a motorcycle accident that shredded about 3 of his knee ligaments, his ACL, and also a nerve in his leg. His leg was rumored to never have really healed completely, and he was never seen on a court since then. The team immediately moved on with Kirk Hinrich, drafting him the next season. They made no move to pay Jay since he violated the terms of the contract by riding a motorcycle. A harsh judgment on Williams' state of health pushed him from a famous prospect to a draft day catastrophe. Number 6. Darko Milicic, Detroit Pistons, 2003. This pick was mostly the fault of general managers and scouts. When Darko was drafted, it was evident to everyone that the selection, wasn't a good one. At the time, it was common that a 7-foot European would be seen as the new Dirk Nowitzki, even when it was clear that, they didn't come really close to him. And that was exactly the case for this pick. Detroit was the best team in the league at the time, and it was common knowledge they were drafting for need. So they took Milicic for the future, given that at the time he was barely 18. The team won a title during Milicic's training season, even though he rarely played at the time. There were speculations that he would have done better in a different position. Nevertheless, in all of his NBA career, nothing about his playing skills suggests that. Nothing is inspiring about the way Milicic looked on the court, and although he managed to stay around for 10 seasons, there was never enough good play from him to make anyone believe he was worth a number 2 pick in the draft. He managed to average just 6 points a game throughout his entire career. Number 5. Adam Morrison of the Charlotte Bobcats, 2006. Adam Morrison is known widely as the man who refused to shower, and just like his hygiene, his shooting skills had nothing NBA written on it. He lost his job during his rookie season due to his inability to make a basket and his bad defense mechanisms. In 2006, however, the Charlotte Bobcats made Morrison the overall 3rd pick in the draft. Maybe they saw something in him that no one ever did, or they were most likely dreaming of seeing him in his former glory from back in college. In 2007, Adam became injured, and the Bobcats ended up trading him to the LA Lakers. The rest of the career was spent on the bench in Los Angeles. He was a bench player until his release after the 2010 season. Number 4. Greg Oden of the Portland Trail Blazers, 2007. And as for the 2007 draft, there was a huge deliberation on who should be selected first, Kevin Durant or Greg Oden. The Trailblazers later went for Oden, which, well, was nobody's fault. Greg wouldn't have been on this list if not for the knee injury he encountered in his career. The injury halted his playing career just 105 games later in his 6 entire seasons. However, he didn't play in 3 out of those 6 seasons. The Portland Trailblazers were aware of the ongoing concerns surrounding Oden's knees and most likely thought he was a better option against Durant, a National College Player of the Year. Portland eventually picked Oden since he had the potential of becoming a once-in-a-generation type of player, and scouts had been praising him since his high school days. They overlooked the possibility of the greatest player of all time to go for Greg Oden. An injury to the knee was the beginning of Greg's downfall, and he was out of the league shortly thereafter. Since his dominance in the national spotlight, he had managed to bag one injury after another. During his college days in Ohio State, Oden had broken a hand, but kept playing through, beating everyone hands down with just his left hand. That's how great his game was. But he was so bored in his rehabilitation period that he at one point released a nude picture of himself. Number 3. Hasheem Thabeet, Memphis Grizzlies, 2009. Back in 2009, the Memphis Grizzlies would draft Hasheem Thabeet number 2 overall. Scouts and the general manager were all about his potential since he was 7'3". However, little did they know that Thabeet was just another 7'3" guy with absolutely no skills or potential in the game. He had no single talent to make him a superstar in the NBA as many had predicted. His physical presence was only that of the huge man in the game and nothing more. Less than a year after his pick, he was sent to the Memphis developmental team, giving him the title of the highest pick to be sent to the league at the time. Number 2. Anthony Bennett, Cleveland Cavaliers, 2013. With a knee injury sidelining one of 2013's highest picks, Nerlens Noel, an unpredictable draft was encountered. The Canadian, Anthony Bennett, was next in line. Also at number 2 was Victor Oladipo and Otto Porter at number 3. The Milwaukee Bucks won the draft of Giannis Antetokounmpo at number 15, and then Noel decked out to the number 6 position to the 76ers. Hope was raised high with Bennett's pick, but was dashed to the floor as he averaged only around 4.4 points a game and 3 rebounds a game in a total of just 151 games in Bennett's 4 NBA seasons. And our number 1 draft bust, Sam Bowie of the Portland Trail Blazers, 1984. Stress fractures to Bowie's legs made him miss out on one full Kentucky season. This brought some doubts if his 7'1" height could help him pull off an NBA career or if it was just another character to his frame. Unfortunately for the Portland Trail Blazers, he proved to be the latter, managing just 139 games at Portland in about 5 years, another 4 years later with the New Jersey Nets. Sadly, however, another guy you might have heard of, Michael Jordan, was drafted that year 3rd overall, and he completely took all of the shine from Sam Bowie. Anyway, guys, that's it for me today. If there are other draft busts you may think I have missed, be sure to comment down below and I'll include it in a later video. If you love this video and you want to see more just like it, be sure to give us a like, and do not forget to subscribe and hit that bell. That's it for me, guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.